right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Safeonomics. I'm Scott Cuthbert, co-founder of Safeopedia and Safety Connect. And this is part three of our three-part series with Dorothy Riviere. And I think if you've been able to catch the previous episodes, you are becoming familiar with Dorothy. If not, again, you can go back and watch those two previous episodes. Strongly recommended. Great conversations around how to be a leader within the safety industry, how to engage leadership, how to engage employees, and with Maria, and we had a great conversation with Chris as well around the perspective from the workforce. So I'm going to turn it over to Dorothy to introduce our special guest today, but really looking forward to the part three of our three-part series.
Yes, and thank you. So today is part three of our mini series, really around the whole topic of the business of safety. So looking at what safety managers and safety personnel may need to consider and think about from individuals that they might be working with, leadership within the different businesses within their industries. And it has been great to explore that from three different angles. Today, we are very excited to have with us Dr. Rosemary Bernal-Gomez, and I'll let her introduce herself. But today, our topic is going to be around predictive analytics and AI. And I know that one of her main roles is as a predictive analytics consultant to many different industries. So this will be a great conversation. So welcome, Dr. Rosemary. We are very excited to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Dorothy. And I really look forward to answering questions and sharing all of the knowledge that I've gained 30 years in the industry. So I hope that your audience has a great takeaway by the end of the interview.
I am sure that they will. And with that, 30 years is a long time. So would you be able to give us a little bit of insight into your background, and then obviously how you ended up getting into predictive analytics, um, just in general? That would be lovely.
Yes, thank you so much. So, I worked for Southern California Edison for 30 years. That went by really fast. And within my time at Southern California Edison, I was always very curious as to the grid, how it worked. I must confess, so when I first started with the company, all I knew is when you walk into a room, you flip on the switch and the lights turn on. And so it was fascinating to see really everything that encompasses electricity, our communities, and keeping our community safe, hospitals and um, medical services. And so I was very purposeful within those 30 years. I wanted to learn about transmission and distribution. So I worked in those organizations, and then I would transfer into the business perspective of it. So I really like my portfolio was pretty well rounded, and I felt that I could have robust conversations with whether it's an executive or with our field crews. The last department that I worked in was a safety organization, and it was I was very curious as to how our safety, because that is our number one mission and vision, is safety culture at Southern California Edison is, what are we doing in the safety organization to help prevent serious injury and fatalities? And so when I first started working there, I used my background is a statistician and data analyst. So it widgets and numbers really for me are more like poetry. It tells a story. And so I started studying. And at the time, we were trying to be proactive instead of reactive with injuries. And as we were coming along with the years, trying to get ahead of that, I found myself attending one too many funerals. And the last funeral that I attended for a journeyman lineman really hit home. I knew the gentleman and his family, and he also had a brother-in-law working for the company. And as I was leaving the services, I just thought I have to somehow marry the gifts that I've been given with mathematics and software, AI software. What can I do to make a difference so that none of this happens ever again? And that's when the journey started. And I had gone back to school and got my certifications to really understand Python. It was something that we did not use at the time at Edison. We were using SAS, which is fantastic, but I knew that Python had the opportunities to really delve into trying to understand predictions as far as human behaviors, cognitive behaviors. And that's where it started. Edison trusted me to start building. I had a partner at the time. He and we started to build a predictive model. And with all of the years that I had at Edison, I had built a lot of trust with our field employees. And so fast forward, over 3 years, we implemented this safety predictive model, say slow and steady. And we got our work published in Forbes magazine because we were pioneering something that no other utility industry was using. And we definitely saw that the opportunity of eliminating fatalities was there. And so we have not had a fatality. That's not to say contractors, because that's a whole different perspective, but we definitely saw that this was an opportunity where all of our linemen can go home safe every day. And so that was our mission and our passion, and we were able to do that.
Well, that is a testament already to what you've been able to accomplish. So, congratulations to you and to your business for taking that on. I wanted to, you used an analogy that numbers and data is like poetry to you. And I will be honest, the way that I think about, some people are afraid of poetry. That's me. Like I can handle science, but poetry, boy, I'm not sure, but that's, I feel like how many people feel about statistics, potentially predictive analytics, and certainly when we get into the AI conversation, they're like, not sure I want to go there. So, what would you maybe say to the listeners to help them understand the value, not just the value of it, because I think that people understand the value of it, but how can they maybe be not so afraid of the data and statistics, the predictive analytics, and really begin to embrace that in their own organizations? Because I feel like sometimes what you don't know, you want to keep away from you a little bit.
Absolutely, yes. The word AI was definitely not popular in my workplace because it's as if I was saying the boogeyman. People immediately have these narratives that you're going to replace my job. It's going to replace my job. There's no type of innovative machine learning that can do the job that I do. And to some point, absolutely. We were never intending, and we were very purposeful of not to replace human beings. The work that Southern California Edison journeyman linemen do is, to me, very heroic. It's very dangerous. They have to work next to energized lines. A lot of our customers are unaware, as I was when I first started. And so, because of that, they're very strategic and very well versed. AI we introduced it as an opportunity to help provide a lot more data information to our utility linemen so that they can write extra safety mitigations. It was never intended to tell them how to do the work. They are the experts and they know how to do the work. This was something that we wanted to also make sure that it was easy for them to also bring their expertise to the table, but we would just simply highlight opportunities of extraordinary risk every job they do has risk, and they are well versed in knowing the type of risk. But what an amazing opportunity to know that this particular job that you're about to do is 80% similar to a historical fatality. And here are opportunities, and we'll provide you the five most dangerous aspects of that job so you can write safety mitigations. So AI was introduced as opportunity to help, not to replace. And I think that's really, really important whenever anyone within the safety industry who has high risk sees an opportunity to help complement the people that are doing the work with this type of information. So that's how I would introduce AI.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And I feel like, one of the things that you mentioned was that the AI might assess a site or a job and then say, here are the things that are going to be potential risks to that. I think that's a great example for people. Would you have any other examples, of AI or even just regular data analytics or predictive statistics, where that safety managers might understand the opportunities that might be in front of them in using data to drive decisions, or AI to provide them with additional opportunities that they might not otherwise have?
Yes. Well, I feel that the utility industry, Southern California Edison had really great protocols, safety protocols in preparation, tailboards at the district, tailboards on the field, and the safety, everyone involved in the crew, even the lead journeyman, really had a thorough understanding of the work. So the experience is fantastic. But what we want to introduce is sometimes when you've done the job, and some can say, I've done it in my sleep, there's the opportunity where having it documented or scanned by a predictive model will kind of alert you again, like, oh, even though I've done this type of job a million times and I can do it in my sleep, oh, this one in particular was flagged because there's always elements. I've noticed that on sunny days, when in the middle of the week, when the conditions are perfect, actually, those are the most dangerous days because when we're in the thick of a storm, we have our heightened awareness. If you find yourself driving in your car and it's raining, you're at 10 and 2. The last thing you want to do is start to mess with your phone or, God forbid, mess with radio. You don't do those tendencies during some chaotic situation, but you will do those tendencies when it's a sunny day and you just feel very relaxed. How many of us have found ourselves getting from point A to point B? How did I get here? And I got here safely. That's what I have found, that's where predictive analytics really comes in the most opportune times is when the elements are very safe and relaxed, but the work and their trust in their knowledge sometimes may be at an intersection.
Yeah, and I'd love to build on that too, because I think I have a technology background. I think most people in the safety industry are closet geeks if they're not fully out, because
Right, people.
they love data, they love analyzing information. But you mentioned Python, and so just kind of help ease a little bit of maybe the anxiety that some safety professionals might have about looking at the technology. Like the example that you described, again, I've been on sites where we're collecting all the stats and we're kind of looking at the trends, but you're taking that to the next level with the predictive model. So how could somebody without a PhD in AI, take some of that statistical information and start looking at it through the lens of a predictive model?
Yes, absolutely. Um, you know, there's certain elements that you'll have to take into consideration. First and foremost, let's study historically what has transpired. I took 5 years of historical information regarding there was a level of I wanted severe injury and fatalities. I had to scrub the data and make sure we didn't include sprains and strains and twisted ankles. So it was more of severe loss of limbs, severe burns. And again, we took this information. And then once we had cleaned the data, then the most important thing we started looking at was the type of resources or tools that they were using. Was it a bucket truck? Was it a crane? So once we started to look at the necessary tools in making the type of repair, we also realized that third goes into the expertise of the crew. Now, predictive analytics, you have opportunities to try and, which I avoided, was to see individual risk. That is one thing that we were against is creating bias. So what you want to do is look at the historical data, look at the type of machinery that they're using, and then look at the crew experience overall as an average. And then you'll have an idea of the types of higher than average risk in different districts. That's when we started focusing on, we use 3 different districts with geographically different climates. So, for example, a pole replacement, you're replacing a pole. Everyone knows how to replace a pole, but then it changes if it's on the side of a hill in the mountainous area. It changes if it's in a back tight alley in a robust city, and it changes if it's in the middle of the desert. So, with predictive analytics, take into consideration the type of study that you're doing. First, get your historical information, focus in on what it is. Do you just want to do severe injuries? Do you want to push it to fatalities? Where is the need within your department and organization at the time? And even taking baby steps, start to build around what you find in the historical information. And I believe it will unveil and really tell a story as to where the need might be greater. And then start to dig into that as far as, okay, now we know the need. What goes into that? What type of tool or machinery goes into having to complete the work? And so that's how we were starting to piece together the puzzles, historical, finding severe injury and fatalities, where the most need was in districts, what type of machinery. Usually mountainous areas never use a bucket truck per se for pole replacement. It's usually a helicopter. You would not be using a helicopter in the desert. And so really understanding your company, going out to the field, watching these, observing, and understanding what those differences might be. So when you do create your predictive model, your if-then statements will be appropriate and not general across the board. Because what you want to do is if someone's in the mountainous area, say, this doesn't even apply to me, and then that's pretty much over for them. So you really want to study, understand your geography, understand the people involved, and also try to mimic that so it is applicable.
That's so interesting and gives, I think, a great baseline to how somebody might kind of begin to kind of think about it. When you have this information and you've created it, can you give a couple of examples about how you go about then disseminating the information to the people who need it? Like what is it that they're looking at? Are they looking at pieces of paper? Are they looking at an app with information on it? Like how do they consume the information that you are generating for them?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, we were purposeful, my partner and I. We went out to these 3 different geographies, mountainous, desert, and city. And we observed So we already knew historically what the type of incident was for each of those three different geographies, but we also knew that we've never made a repair. We've never been up in a bucket truck. And so for the sustainability and adoption, we were already thinking ahead about a cultural transformation. We wanted them to be part of the team. So what we did was we shared with them, we have this concept. It's a predictive model. And the first thing they said is, don't give me another report. Don't make me push another button. I have plenty. I just want, if you want to go ahead and give me additional information on how to be safe, and they would emphasize, which I already know, make it spectacular where it's actually something that I may have like overlooked or knew it was risky, but didn't think it was risky within the similar conditions of that fatality that took place years ago. So they had already given us homework, and we asked them if they would be part of a committee of these three districts. Would you like to join and help us build it? Tell us, as the experts, what it is that you want to see, what it is that you want it to tell you as far as specifics of those top 5 high risk elements that you already know that would help complement, but maybe outside the box. That's what worked. So while they were helping us create the predictive model with everything that they wanted to see, we were also creating a sustainable safety culture transformation. These three districts were, they're all amazing, but they were going to be our influencers. They were going to go ahead once we launched, not only partake in it, but they were also going to be our advocates. So we were kind of doing things in parallel. And again, it's important. We did not want to create a predictive model that from our perspective as data scientists, it was so important to build a collaboration with those field people who would be using it. And we also wanted to, again, as I mentioned, make sure it had all of the bells and whistles, if possible, that we could create, that it would have them intrigued and curious and also advocate for.
Nice. And how did they use it? Like, how did they actually use that information?
Yes. So we realized that the common denominator for everyone across the district was a work order. And we studied how a work order was created from beginning to end. So we were able to use our AI, predictive analytics, machine learning behind the scenes while the work order was being made and before it was spit out to go ahead and put into a jacket and hand it over to a utility lineman and crew. It was already flagged and it already provided you the top 5 reasons why this particular work order was higher in risk than normal. So that is what we did is we flagged those work orders. Now, keep in mind there's, I don't know, 5 to 10,000 orders per se a month. So we had to make sure that we had an 80% area under the curve, but 80% mimics a historical fatality. It would flag that one. So we had pretty much no more than 5 flagged a month that had similarities. So it didn't get exhausting or we didn't lose credibility. So whenever they did see a flagged work order, it was stamped by the machine that here are your top 5 reasons why it was flagged. That added to the robust conversation of safety at the tailboard. So that's how we did it.
Yeah, and I know Scott's going to ask a question here, but I want to double click on what you said because I think it's really important. For anybody who's listening who's outside of the energy industry, I think one of the important things that you said was you found a form or something that was already a part of their work process. And I
And
think that's so important. You actually just made it flow with what they already do. And I think that anytime that you're putting anything in place, that you really want people to use because nobody wants one more task, one more place to go. That's what I was hoping you were going to say when I asked the question, actually, because I know that that's how a lot of people feel. So finding what already is within the work workflow and then making sure you maximize and use that. And then I think you said something else really, really important. It can't be on every single one that comes through. You have to really start and identify and almost prioritize
Yeah.
those that have the highest risk and start there. And then as things change, you might be able to bring in different layers. And so
Mhm.
that find the workflow and prioritize appropriately, I think are two really important things you just said that I wanted to just highlight for the listeners because of the level of importance, I think, of those two items to the entire conversation. So thank you for that. And I'll
Yes.
turn it over to Scott because I know he has a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, well, and it's just along the same lines. I think that's a brilliant use of, the information, attaching it to the work orders. And I just, similar to Dorothy, wanted to frame it just because so many of our safety professionals are working for smaller, medium-sized organizations. They probably don't have a PhD in AI. And so again, it can seem a little bit overwhelming, but I think, and I'd love for you to speak to it as well, but the way that you've broken it down in a pragmatic, practical approach, and using, like Dorothy mentioned, the work order that's already existing makes it feel a lot more manageable. That even if you're in a smaller organization and you don't have the resources that you might have had, you could still get started on using those predictive models in really targeted ways.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I encouraged my team, like, get out of the cubicle. I know we love to code. I know we love data. I know we love to scrub data and really look at it and put a story together. But you're really not putting a story together if you don't get out of your cubicle, go out into the field, observe, really educate yourself to be able to speak their love language. And their love language is, what type of production are they doing? What type of work are they doing? Do you really, as a data scientist, understand um, everything that encompasses their type of work? If you can, then going back to your cubicle, you have that mindset of, now I truly understand what this data set means, because it was only one small piece of the puzzle. Now, being out in the field, I understand the other piece of the puzzle. And you can also get creative and think, okay, as a data scientist, it's my job not only to make it easier, but to think outside the box. So that's where your creative juices can come into play. But I also feel like that collaboration with your field employees, your frontline workers, is so important. It does affect them, and decisions that are made, on the other side that affect them. It's hard for the culture to sustain it and adopt it, um, when it may cause them more work. So this was an important aspect that I always tell my team is, talk to them, ask them, if you had 3 wishes, 5 wishes, what would it be to make your life easier, but most importantly, safer?
And I feel like it's like you and Dr. Maria could be sitting side by side because of the fact that you brought this in, but really had a parallel path with, engaging the individuals that were a part of it. Such an important part, and something that she talked about in our first recording that people should definitely listen to, because then it was also about how do you create that culture. So these two things are coming together very nicely at this
Oh,
point. I want to turn just a little bit, a tiny direction to, we've talked about how the data and analytics, how you worked it into the workflows, how you made it manageable and digestible for people kind of in the safety space and the individual workers. Can you turn the opposite direction for us and give us an insight into how you used it really to educate upward into the business, into the boardroom area of the organization?
yes, absolutely. Again, um, the executives and our Edison International president, Pedro Pizarro, and Steve Powell, Southern California Edison president, they were so amazing. They were really open to this opportunity of embracing AI and bringing Python into our software systems. We had been working on SAS, and while we explained that there was greater opportunities with Python, they gave us the green light, and they're always working on opportunities to keep not just our employees safe, but also keeping the grid safe. They were working on drones. So it's wonderful to already have a C-suite that is embracing AI. And to take a chance on my partner and I to share a vision that we couldn't benchmark because no other utility company was doing it. They gave us a fabulous budget. They gave us a corporate goal, which highlighted us and gave us kind of opportunities to work with other senior executives, and they started to help us with the language and the safety communication. Communication is so important. Yes, while we were out there building that trust and transparency with our field crews, they in the C-suite were working and reinforcing how predictive modeling can also be important and within management, and how management would embrace that, the reporting and the data aspect that comes from that. So I feel that my partner and I were just so fortunate to have presidents that were forward thinking and really open to, let's make a difference and we will take a chance, because we couldn't necessarily say the ROI was there, since it was a risk, to transform. We have what, 12,000 employees. So that was wonderful to have their support. And when you have a C-suite support and they're advocating you through communication, through as also referencing and using their influence to support this, your creative juices are just even more flowing and less things to stress about, and more time to go ahead and walk into that C-suite. We would spend maybe 5 minutes of what we did last month, and 55 minutes of where we were going in the future. So it was a fantastic experience.
Nice. So it sounds like, based on what you're saying, you did go and present to them quite frequently as you were building things out, and then I'm assuming after you rolled it out. Would that be accurate?
Yes, yes. While we were building, we would meet with them every month. We were on their calendar from then on for the next 3 years, every month, sharing with them the success of completing the predictive model, implementing, and our strategic processes for the sustainability and adoption, as well as training. My partner and I, we did all of that. So it was a fantastic experience. Um, and also helping those who would resist in some districts, becoming our biggest advocates. And, we would also make sure that those people from the field would come to that boardroom and also share their experiences. And I found that fascinating because not a lot of them have had that opportunity. And I thought it was just building a win-win. Our C-suite is hearing people who are actually out there doing the work and experiencing it and hearing it from them versus my partner and I. So that was a wonderful experience as well.
Can you go into, you highlighted, although it sounds like you've had so much support through the whole thing, which is a huge blessing, but you did highlight that there were some people that could have been resistant to
Oh, yeah.
it. And I think that there are some of our listeners who might feel like, gosh, I would really love to go in this direction, but I I either already know that there are going to be people resistant to it, or I'm not sure. And so I want to be prepared for all situations. Can you give them any type of tips or tricks of what to do if they encounter the
Yes.
resistance, or simply someone who doesn't know that much about it?
Yes. Well, I want to be perfectly honest. We started with three districts. There was maybe one district that just was, this is crazy. I guess we'll join along. But I was very purposeful in choosing the hardest resistors to those meetings because I really wanted to know what are their fears. What is it at the core that they do not want to be part of? Is it just that they're maybe not techie savvy? Are they scared that they're going to have to become a coder? So, I had more meetings with them and started to build some trust with them. I started doing the talking and sharing with them, listen, this is not to replace you. I shared our mission and vision. I shared that, every conference boardroom has a memorial wall in it. I pointed to that memorial wall and I said, I don't want to go to another one of these, as I'm sure you don't want to see another fallen brother or sister. This is all that I'm doing. But if you join me, your voice will be in this predictive model. And it took some time to trust. And this is why my partner thought I was crazy picking the most resistant people, but I just knew that they could see my authenticity, they could feel my passion, and I wanted them to join the team and help us build it. And so they did, and they became our biggest advocates. They were the ones that were getting on stage and saying, I thought Rosemary was just like a joke, or this was a joke, but you know what? This is real. It helps. Let's not attend any more services. Let's not have any severe injuries. They ended up being my biggest advocates. And anytime I would go to another district to start to implement, I would name drop. I had no
Smart.
shame in my game. I would name drop. And it was kind of like a little ego based out in the districts that are like, oh, really? Oh, they are embracing it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to give them a call. By all means, give them a call. Or sometimes if I could, they would join me in going to the other districts. It's not hard. Change is never easy. AI is scary. But if you have some experience in truly understanding their language and understanding the dangers that they experience, I believe that they will leave some room for conversation and start to build that trust.
It's Dorothy, this is a great session, and I think great example. This should be a case study. Like we should turn this into a case study for
I just
safety.
finished my PhD, Scott.
Yeah, no, no, yeah,
No more
one,
homework for a
no
while.
more work. Because I just think it's even a clinic on change management, what you're describing, and winning people over and winning their trust and getting them on board. I know as a publication, when people first started talking about AI, we thought, well, maybe we should look at building an AI chatbot to help people better understand the regulations and legislation that's out there. And of course, we are not programmers ourselves, so we talked to a consulting firm, and it was $250,000 or something to do this. But that was not that long ago. But it was during the conversations that we were having with this consultant firm that the GPTs came out, Chat GPT released, and
Yes.
it's like for $20 a month, we could almost create what would have been, $250,000 2 months earlier. So, what sort of changes are you seeing, and what sort of trends do you see coming in the near and maybe mid future, so that, again, smaller organizations with leaner teams could be embracing this similar technologies to start predictively looking at their data.
Yes. Well, I think the good news is that we know predictive analytics is here, and we know that we can study cognitive behaviors, tendencies. So we know that's arrived. And what I love to do is I love to go on social media and go to reputable places as far as uh, AI information. I mean, any kind of website that specializes, has credibility, because it's moving so fast. I can't keep up, but I do know that, if I'm interested, it's like, hey, is there anything new that's coming out with, um, let's just say, I don't know. I mean, we have facial recognition now, we have voice recognition. We are just moving at the speed of light. So if there's something specific that in my industry I want to learn, like for example, I'm expanding and I am using my knowledge and meeting with high hazard industry leaders such as oil rigs, underwater welding, construction. This predictive model can easily fit in these scenarios, but AI is evolving, so I need to use AI and educate myself as to, is there anything new that I can incorporate? For example, in underwater welding, is there something that understands like climate control and their air masks and tanks? There's so many little features that how can AI keep up with this one project that I'm working on? So I think I would probably go a little crazy if I kept reading all the latest and the greatest. I have to, I'm excited about it. I want to stay well versed. I want to stay educated. I want to go to conferences. I want to read articles. Um, but I think we are changing and evolving. So I think, what the example you said, Scott, what last quarter you would have paid 20 million and now this quarter, it's $20 a month. I mean, it's ever evolving, changing. I just hope that we get more ethics and regulations and policies because I'm so passionate about AI, but I'm also passionate about um, human privacy and also not using it in a biased way to eliminate jobs. So there's so much that the world of I try to keep it positive, and I also kind of flash my badge about this is to help, this is not to replace. So keeping up with the latest and the greatest in any forum, I think is important.
Yeah, that was going to be my question because, you know, I've even spent some time learning there's so many different types of AI. So everybody's familiar with ChatGPT,
Mm.
but you have Claude, you have Grok, you have there's so many more. There's probably 25, 30 different ones. And the thing that I've learned, maybe, we'll see, is that sometimes it is the underlying structure of each of them that they're built for different uses, and they may make decisions differently based on their underlying foundational rules. For people who really don't know anything at all about AI, is there a place that you would recommend that they start just to familiarize themselves with the types of AI that are out there?
That's, oh my goodness. Dorothy, I think you stumped me on this one. I think you stumped me on this. So I know that sometimes people think like ChatGPT, it is AI, but it's an informative resource. If you want to, construct a tough conversation that you're going to have with an employee or something. I mean, it gives you opportunities, but still you need to learn how to frame that question to give you exactly a detailed in the weeds versus AI. The way I see it is I'm using raw data and I'm creating a code to help understand human behavior.
Mhm.
And to help understand human behaviors of what happened in the past and to help prevent what happened in the past for the future. So I think it really depends on the audience. Where is your niche? Where is your curiosity? What is it that really drives you? Do you want to learn more ChatGPT forums to help you create, create PowerPoints or, the greatest presentation ever? Or are you really interested in creating a model that really understands cognitive behaviors? Because you're going to be that coder, you're going to be the artist building it. So I think it depends on where your niche is. There's, educate yourself, go back to school, get your certifications. If this is something that really intrigues you, Python will be here forever. And now, before it's outdated and there's the new latest and greatest, see, try and read some science articles, technology articles. Find your niche. Find what it is that you're passionate about. Where do you lose all the hours of the day that you were doing something? To me, that was coding. I could easily code for 12 hours and feel like it was 5 minutes. It's that's what I'm talking about. Find your passion and then take it from there.
And I love how you highlighted that because I think that when people think of AI, they think of the tools. That right? They only think of the tools and then that's their launching point. But what you said I thought was really profound is it's really about where you're spending time and how do you actually advance the time or better utilize or free up additional time for you to do whatever it is that you love. And how can AI then take over some of the things that maybe take up your time in the past to do, but something else could actually perform that task, which allows you to think and
Hmm.
create and perform at an advanced level or more of it over time. And I think if people were to reframe that and think
Hmm.
about AI and technology a little bit differently in that lens, then how you then go to try to consume it, because
Hmm.
you're right, there's AI out there that helps you design, it helps you pictures. So you have to first understand what you want
Yes.
before you actually just go and learn the tools. And that's where I was hoping you'd go. So I didn't stump you at all.
I,
Well, great.
yeah, I was just going to say with that question, um, AIopedia was launched.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
That's yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, if you just find what it is that really you're passionate about, something that you feel fills your purpose. I found out early on my life purpose was to be of service to others. I didn't know necessarily how I can be of service to others. And then I found that I was good at mathematics and coding. And then I just married the two, and I always find myself in opportunities now, such as consulting, using predictive analytics, using my expertise, and being of service to high hazard industry leaders and sharing with them the possibilities of how we can change the risk factor in their fields and make it one of the safest jobs. So that is my purpose. That's my goal in life is to change that so that everyone gets to go home safe to their families.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that as a goal. One last question before we start to kind of wrap up. We know that in many industries now, there's a lot of new technology that's coming into those industries through wearables and virtual reality, for example, even on construction sites, or even just like biometrics that people now are collecting. Are you finding? Like, I'm curious where you believe that your existing models, where you've had to really focus on incidents, potentially equipment, location, things like that. How do you see it changing do you see these wearables giving you a lot of opportunity in the future, or is it just not there yet?
No, I think they are right on track, moving along. I hear at conferences people who, like, for example, there was a company for bus drivers and also for truck drivers. Are you ready for that long drive? Or even for the bus drivers first, um, they would show up to work and they put on a watch and it would take their measurements as far as it would truly understand, are you fatigued? Did you get enough sleep? And it is not to deter them to like, you're gonna have to go home, you're not ready. It would give them an extra 30 minutes to go and relax. And they also had meditation rooms, or they had rooms, breathing exercises. So it was like a perk, not as you were being, your finger being wagged like, hey, you're too tired to drive. I think it's fantastic. I welcome all of it. The more, the merrier. Any opportunities for wearables, with the caveat that the end result is not like you get to go home, you're suspended. I don't think that works whatsoever. The wearables need to also come with an understanding that, what is the perk in helping us change either the behaviors or help us identify the behaviors so we can provide resources, such as this company was doing for those bus drivers, is we gave you an allocated 30 minutes to not worry about any kind of resistance or getting in trouble. It's 30 minutes to just take a moment, take a breath, and they're helping you, giving you these resources so you can be safe and the company can be safe. That's what I encourage, and I welcome any other opportunities of innovation that we're going to be wearing for our protection as well as protection of our community. I think that's fantastic. I remember back in the early 2000s about drones. But, my idea kind of got crushed because they're like, well, drones, you need an aircraft permit, you need this. And there was a lot of red tape. But now look, we have drones everywhere. And we're using drones to assess our utility poles to see if there's any, loose cable. And I mean, it's like fantastic. Slow and steady is the course. If you have a fantastic idea, design it, be passionate about it, research, is anyone else doing it? And really find the management loves metrics. Bring some metrics to that and share how it will create win-win scenarios, not just for policy and the company, but also for the community and for the employees. I mean, it's kind of hard to say no for management when you've got all of that lined up when you're coming up with these great ideas.
So true. Scott, did you have something that you wanted to, and one more question, or?
Yeah, no, I think just, and I'm not sure if you were going to ask it, but I think, the saying "we don't know what we don't know" is even more applicable in these new evolving, emerging industries or sectors. So, if there's a question that we didn't ask today, or if there's some insights that you think would help, safety professionals that we didn't address, this is your prime opportunity to share those insights.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. For all of you out there wondering, how can I get to that next echelon, or how can I help my organization with this specific challenging issue, whatever type of safety issue that may be, I encourage you to go outside of that cubicle, go and read, understand, go to the field or wherever that may be, get to know what exactly the process is, get to know exactly the type of people that are doing that type of work. Are they certified specialists? Or, what education they needed, like our utility linemen had to go to utilities lineman school. Really understand what their challenges are. And I come back to the drawing board and take that and really think outside the box. And I think that that is where our ideas, our successful ideas come from. Be passionate about it, do your homework. Always look to see benchmarking. Is anyone else doing this? And if so, how were they successful in doing it? How did they implement it? Sometimes we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If someone's already been successful in implementing a process, safety culture, or policies, bring that back to the table and show metrics, show how their successes have increased productivity, decreased risk. It doesn't have to be sometimes as fantastic as creating a predictive model. All these little bits and pieces make a huge difference. So I encourage you to be brave, be courageous, and get to know what exactly is the biggest challenge in your company and do something about it. So thank you so much, Dorothy and Scott.
Gosh, that was like the perfect ending. Thank you so much for your time. And if people want to, because I know you do some consulting, and if people want to
Yes.
reach out to you in any way, how would you suggest they do that?
Yes, please reach out to my LinkedIn, and I would love to go ahead and connect with you and discuss any questions that you have about predictive analytics. I'm consulting for a company called First Analytics. They are a subsidiary from Forbes magazine, and I would love to go ahead and offer my services and see how we can help change the statistics in your company.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And we'll certainly supply that, obviously, with your name and everything. And I want to personally thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights with us. It's been wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to echo Dorothy's comments and thank you so much. Very insightful. Again, really practical, pragmatic advice for people to get started and to progress through their projects. And I also wanted to take this opportunity because it's the third of three episodes with Dorothy as a co-host. So thank you so much, Dorothy.
Oh,
It's been
thank you.
amazing.
Yes.
Really appreciate your insights and you picked the guests who were all amazing. So thank you so much for that. And you also provide some consulting services. So if people are
Do.
looking, at how to adopt technology for their organizations or what types of technologies are out there that might fit for them, definitely encourage people to reach out and connect with Dorothy as well, because as you can see, she's very helpful and very insightful when it comes to improving safety programs within your organization. So thank you,
Well,
Dorothy.
and thank you, Scott, for the opportunity to
Yeah.
put together this three-part series. And if people really like it, please reach out to Scott because maybe that's something that we can do more of. And I appreciate that, yeah, people can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I do help people assess different technologies, but I also have been partnering with Dr. Maria more recently, and we have been really focusing on helping people put movement programs in place for people who are really focusing on how do they actually prepare their workers for the work that they're about to do in a different way. So they can reach out to me on LinkedIn for that too.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yes, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you and have a wonderful and safe day.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
as
You
well.
as well.